Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we will be delving into our reading, analysis and line-by-line explanation of Act 1, Scene 2 of William Shakespeare's timeless play Macbeth. This scene is very important and pivotal in establishing the personality of characters and setting the stage for what is in store in the course of the drama. So let's dive right in. Now, to understand the play of Macbeth, you need to get an overview of the scene. So in this video, I will first explain the political scenario and the overview of the scene. Then I'll move into the line-by-line explanation, giving you word meanings to difficult words. We will discuss the themes and the importance of Act 1, Scene 2, and as you always know, there are notes awaiting towards the end of the video. So do stay tuned. Now, Act 1, Scene 2 opens with a surgeon reporting to King Duncan about the ongoing battle between the Scottish forces, which are led by Macbeth and Banquo on one side, and the rebel or the enemy forces led by MacDonald and his army. The surgeon is giving an account of how Macbeth is fighting in a very brave manner, showing his loyalty in the battle and loyalty towards King Duncan, and King Duncan becomes very happy and he is praising Macbeth for his efforts. We already know that King Duncan is very happy with how Macbeth is fighting in a brave manner and getting victory for Scotland. At this time, we see Ross, who enters with additional news, and he is informing King Duncan that the Thane of Cawdor, whom Duncan had trusted a lot, he was a trusted nobleman, he has cheated on Duncan, and now Duncan is shocked by this betrayal, and he had placed a lot of trust on the Thane of Cawdor. But then he sees that how Macbeth overthrows the Thane of Cawdor also, and he is going to bring back victory to King Duncan, and there's some surprise which is definitely going to be waiting for Macbeth in time to come. So that was a brief overview about what is going to be happening in this scene. So we see that Act 1, Scene 2 begins where there's alarm within. Enter King Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain, Lennox with attendants, meeting with a bleeding captain. This is the captain who's going to give information to King Duncan. Now the scene begins with Duncan asking, "What bloody man is that?" Now here the word bloody means bleeding, soaked in blood. Remember, we see in the stage direction that in this scene there's also a captain who comes over here and he had been bleeding. So Duncan says that he can report as seemeth by his plight, that is, he can tell us as it looks by his appearance about what are the things, what are the events that have taken place in the battle. To this, Malcolm says, "This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity." So he's saying that this is the person, this bleeding man, this bleeding captain is the person who was very brave, he was very courageous, and he saved me from becoming a slave to the enemies. He's a very brave friend of mine, and he says, "Say to the king the knowledge of the broil," that is, give report to King Duncan about the events of the broil or the battle as thou didst leave it, that is, when you were leaving, what were the things that were happening in the battle. Give the exact report to King Duncan. Now the next speech of captain is very important because it is here that we will get another account of the character Macbeth, though he has still not appeared in person in the play as yet. So he says, "Doubtful it stood as two spent swimmers that do cling together," that is, if there were two swimmers, as if the swimmers have been very exhausted from swimming for a very long time. Similarly, both the sides who were fighting in the battle seemed very, very exhausted from the repeated attacks. MacDonald was still being like a rebel and he was not stopping his cruelty, and he kept on attacking one by one at Macbeth. He had been attacking Macbeth. Remember, I showed you in the third clip that you saw in the video how MacDonald was on one side and he was fighting against Macbeth and Banquo. But then he says that fortune smiled only for a brief moment on MacDonald and supported MacDonald, because nothing can stand or face the courage of Macbeth, for brave Macbeth disdaining fortune. So Macbeth was so firm about his conviction about his agenda of overthrowing MacDonald, like he with his brandished steel, that is Macbeth with his sword, killed MacDonald, or he attacked MacDonald. And then Macbeth, without shaking hands with MacDonald or bidding him a farewell or saying a bye to him, he split MacDonald from his navel to his jaws. That is, see, the phrase is given, from the nape to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements. That is, he fixed the head of MacDonald on the walls of our kingdom. On hearing the account of Macbeth's bravery, Duncan comments, "O valiant cousin, worthy gentleman." Actually, Macbeth was a cousin to Duncan also, apart from being a brave general. So he says that Macbeth has not only proved to be a good general, but also a good relative, a good cousin. To this, Captain says that just as when the sun rises in the east, from that same place there was a storm brewing, and now because fortune had not been favorable, the storm had wrecked the place in the east. Similarly, the King of Scotland had also something else in store. That is, at this time there was the Norwegian lord, that is the King of Norway, who comes and he assesses his advantage, his benefit, and he starts a fresh attack on Macbeth. And no sooner had Macbeth and Banquo finished fighting with the previous allies, that is MacDonald, there is a fresh new assault that they have to face from the King of Norway. Now Duncan says to this, "Dismayed not this our captains Macbeth and Banquo?" That is, did this act of a sudden attack from the King of Norway not surprise, not shock, nor scare Macbeth and Banquo? Now here the captain answers to Duncan that Macbeth and Banquo were not at all scared. If there are eagles and there is an attack by a group of sparrows, the eagle will never be scared. Similarly, a lion will never be scared of the attack being made by hares. So Macbeth and Banquo were hardly affected by the Norwegian attack, just as eagles would never be scared of sparrows or lions by hares. And then he says, "If I say sooth, I must report they were as cannons overcharged." That is, these people, Macbeth and Banquo, were not at all exhausted and tired from their previous fight with MacDonald, and now when they were facing the King of Norway, it seemed as if they were cannons which were overloaded, and they attacked with double energy. They doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe, upon the enemy. Except he said that either Macbeth and Banquo wanted to take a bath in the blood of the enemies, or they wanted to memorize another Golgotha. Now Golgotha is actually a place where skulls would be put up for display. And Golgotha was also a place in Jerusalem where there were a lot of public executions held, where enemies would be killed openly in public and their bodies, their skulls would be put out for display so that no one would repeat the mistakes committed by the enemies. So either that was the agenda of Macbeth and Banquo, to have another Golgotha made with the bodies and the skulls of these enemies. And then he says that I cannot tell you anymore, because he says, "I am faint, my gashes cry for help." That is, his wounds now need dressing because the captain has been bleeding a lot. So Duncan to this says, so well thy words become thee as thy wounds. That is, he says that both your words and your wounds are honorable. And then he calls out to the surgeons and tells that please go and attend to the captain, because he has been bleeding profusely and he needs first aid. Now at this time we see enter Ross and Angus. Who comes here? Duncan asks, who has come now? So Malcolm says that the worthy Thane of Ross has come. Thane was a title given just as we have titles like lords, earls, barons. Similarly, we have the Thane of Ross who now enters, and Lennox says that what a hurry he is coming in, because it seems there's something very urgent that he wants to report, and that is why he's in a strange hurry. It can be seen from his body language. So Ross now greets the king. God save the king. Duncan says, whence camest thou, worthy Thane? He's saying that why have you come? What news have you brought for us? Now at this time Ross says that he has come from Fife, where he has just witnessed how the King of Norway with his army, accompanied by the Thane of Cawdor, who was a disloyal traitor, have led a very furious attack on Macbeth and Banquo till that Bellona's bridegroom. Remember, Bellona's bridegroom is another reference being made to Macbeth. Now, Bellona is actually the goddess of war, and here there is a reference being made that Macbeth, as if like a husband of the goddess of war, that is, he like the god of war, he was covered with his armor and he put up a very strong fight, and he curbed his lavish spirit, that is, he put up a great fight and overthrew the enemy, and to conclude, the victory fell on us, that Macbeth was victorious in this battle in his attack. So Duncan is again very happy and he says, great happiness. To this, Ross says that now Svenno, the Norway's king, craves composition. So Ross is saying that seeing that the fierceness, the bravery in Macbeth, the Thane of Norway or king, Norway's king, is now asking us to sign a peace treaty, nor would we deign him burial of his men. That is, he said that we will not allow the king of Norway to bury his dead soldiers until he has paid $10,000. Where at St. Colm's Inch, that now this is an island, a small island in Edinburgh, he says that the king of Norway has to pay us at least $10,000, and it is only then that we are going to agree to the peace treaty that the king of Norway is requesting. Now at this time, hearing the report, Duncan is very upset because he trusted in the Thane of Cawdor a lot. So he says that because the Thane of Cawdor has now cheated on us, what are we going to do? He says, go pronounce his death, that is, go and kill the Thane of Cawdor, and the title of Thane of Cawdor, give this title to the great Macbeth. So Ross says that definitely I'll get it done as soon as possible. To this, Duncan says, what he hath lost, noble Macbeth had won, that is, the title of being the Thane of Cawdor, that now the Thane of Cawdor has currently lost, will now be conferred or be given to Macbeth. Some of the important themes in Act 1, Scene 2 are bravery of Macbeth, loyalty, how loyalty is such an important thing in the play of Macbeth, the reward of success in battles, the various titles that are given in battles, and establishes Macbeth's presence even before his entry. I have told this to you earlier also, that this scene is very important. Through the speeches of various other characters, we see how gradually the character of Macbeth is being built up even before he has till now not entered the scene in person. So that's it from this video on Act 1, Scene 2 of Macbeth by William Shakespeare. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.